Hello and welcome. My name is Devin Ross, and this will be my tutorial on how to create a planet in Blender for my mid-program project class. So first, let's go over the objectives of this video. So in this video, we will be creating a planet in Blender using a UV sphere. In detail, we will cover how to wrap textures around spheres by using nodes in Shade Editor, how to get the glow on planets to radiate, and how to get the background to look like space. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is open up Blender. So when you first open up Blender, this is what usually opens up for you, just your general Blender. So what you'll want to do is, because we're working with planets today, you're going to want to delete this cube that's already here. And you'll go up to the top, mesh, and then you'll click on the UV sphere because we are using a sphere for planets. So when the sphere comes into view, this is what the sphere looks like. What I like to do, just so that it's up in the air just a little, this is totally upon your own preference, but this is just how I like to use it, and then get this kind of view on it. So the first thing we're going to want to do with our UV sphere is click on here and go to Shade Smooth. You'll notice the difference once you do it. So now you see that the sphere is a lot smoother than it was when we first had added it here in the environment. All right, so now that we have smoothened that sphere, what we're going to want to do is go over here on the right-hand side to Material Properties. Once in Material Properties, we'll go to New. When we hit this New button, Principled BSDF will pop up, but we're just going to simply change that Principled BSDF, which is here, to Emission. So now that that's changed to Emission, we can change the color of that to coordinate with the planet that we're creating. Now, because today I already know that I'm creating the planet Venus, I'm going to make my emissions color orange, somewhere in between orange and yellow, just so that it helps highlight the true color of the planet. I think this is a good in between for what I'm looking for today. All right. And then I personally already know that I'd like to set my strength to 10. I'll go back to this a little later just so you can see how this affects how bright the light is coming off, radiating off the planet. So I'm gonna just set that there. All right, so now that you have done that, you're going to go up here to Render Properties, which is this button here, and we're looking for Bloom. Bloom is here, so we'll just check that Bloom box. And now that we have checked that, we can go ahead and render this. Now, there's two ways to render this. You can either go up here and click on Render Here, or you can hit Z and hit Rendered. So now the image is rendering, or now the planet is rendering. Okay. So now that we actually see that the planet is glowing now, so we've got the glow to radiate on the planet now. So now the next step that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to wrap the planet in a texture. So in order to wrap a planet in a texture, well, before I show you how to wrap the planet in a texture, I want to go back here to strength just to show you what this strength does here. So this strength determines how bright that light's going to glow. So as I progress up and go higher, the glow gets brighter. Now I don't want it to be that bright. I want it to be a little bit more subtle, but keep the glow. So I'm gonna set it back around there. And then of course you can also go back up here to Render Properties and Bloom and play with these as well. So intensity, you can turn that up or down. And you could play with the radius and such. So I think this will be good for now. Turn it up just a little bit more. All right, I think that'll be good for now. So now we can go on to wrapping the planet with a texture. So either from the left or right hand side, you'll go to the top corner and pull the whole way down. So you get that new window to open up. Now that that window's open up, you're going to change this to Shade Editor. And then once in Shade Editor, we're going to get the Node Wrangler to come up. So you'll click on just the emissions. This is for personal preference. I like to pull mine just a little bit closer so I can see all of them in one without scrolling. So now on here, we'll hit Control T. Control T will put in our Node Wrangler automatically for us. If you don't have this option already pre-saved and you would like to, all you need to do is go to Edit, System Preferences, or Preferences here. You'll type in Node Wrangler and make sure this box is checked. If it's not checked, then please check it because this will save you some time. You don't have to individually drag each of these items in. You can just Control T and it'll automatically add itself. So now that this is in here, we just want to change a couple things here. So because we're working with a sphere, not a flat object, we're just going to want to change this flat to sphere. And that's important because our texture is wrapping around a sphere. So we need to change that to sphere. And then here, we'll go to Object to Vector. And then we can open up our Venus planet. Already, and you can already see how that planet comes into frame on here for us. Let me even zoom in a little bit more so you guys can see. And then once again, like I did before, we can go in here and play with the radius if that's what you want to do. It depends on how you want the glue to come off. So we can pull that in so it's a little bit more restrained. Just subtle glow, or you can go up on that radius and that'll expand the radius of the glow. I like a little bit more in glow. In my personal opinion, it looks more realistic to me. And then the last thing that we're going to want to do is create a space background. So a background that resembles space that our planet looks like it's already in the environment. So what you're going to want to do is while in Shade Editor, you're just going to change this drop down where it says Object to World. You're going to click on World there. And then while you're here, you're going to add a Node Wrangler. So we're going to go up here to add, or noise texture, I'm sorry. So we're going to add the noise texture here. And then we are going to add a color ramp. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. We don't need that, however. There we are. So like I said, we need a color ramp, so we're going to add that. All right, so the color ramp's going to go here between the noise texture and background. And this is going to go fact to fact here. This is going to go color to color. And then while on noise texture, we're going to add the Node Wrangler again. All right, so now we're just going to play with this scale. And I know it doesn't quite look like it now, but this is going to help us get the specks in the sky that's going to resemble stars. So I usually do this up to 100 at least. All right, and then now we're going to want to play with this here. So on the color ramp, we have two sides. We have the black side and we have the white side. So what we're going to want to do is slide the black side over to add more black to resemble space. And as you can see, as I add more black, it starts to slowly resemble space just a little more. All right, so I think we look good here. Now what you can do is go back over here to the noise texture and play with the detail and roughness. That detail and roughness will help determine whether it looks like space or if it just looks like a mess. So I'm gonna play with this detail just a little bit more just to kind of get more detailed stars. And then if we go to roughness, do the same thing. And of course, if you go too far, it kind of throws it off, but I'm trying to find a good in between. All right, and then to me, that looks more like space. Here's our finished planet in Blender. This is the planet of Venus, and I have it set in the environment of space. Thank you for joining into my tutorial of how to create a planet in Blender, and the link in my description will be the link of where I got the texture to wrap around this planet. And yeah, thank you for tuning in.